We have from Beep Beep Lettuce and Stay Inside, Brynn Nieber. What's up, Brynn?
Hi. Nothing.
So
Chilling.
we
Yeah.
got you. You're a musician. You're in a band. Stay Inside.
That's right.
Stay Inside Music on Twitter. So you actually probably run into audiophiles. I want to start with this. Actually, are you an
No, it's reasonable.
audiophile?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
No.
So one thing that some people may not know about me, my job is an electrical engineer, and I work in synthesizers.
Whoa.
So it's not just in my band, but like in work, I often travel to synthesizer and music conventions. So I run into the craziest people who are audiophiles, and I've listened to and used many audiophile equipments and products, and I am not one.
Well, it's funny. It's funny because like listen to music that audiophiles probably would never want to listen to anyway.
Sure.
Well, is what I thought, because I like a lot of garage rock, which is just the worst sounding stuff you could possibly hear, but I love it. It sounds good to me. But like I listened to a lot of that, and as I started to look into audiophiles, I found out that they actually believe what they believe that they're doing is getting as close as possible to the live music experience, like sitting in a room with a musician playing music. And they're not
No.
getting anywhere near that.
Yeah, I think that would be hard to get to. Yeah, it feels strange to be trying. I didn't think of it that way. I thought they were just trying to like get the best sound, but I guess what is the best sound?
It's not a live music. When I want to be clear, they're not talking about like a live music experience, like where you go to a venue and see the band. They think that sounds like shit. They're fucking actually talking about sitting where they record the albums when they're recording the album.
Yeah, that's what I've heard the most, is that people say this sounds like the purest expression of what they meant you to hear.
Yes, but that's not even true, right?
No,
like
it can't be true.
Because they understand most people are listening to it in a different way than that. So you're a musician, so but I guess you'd have to take that into consideration. That people are going to be
because the process of mastering is changing things digitally anyway, and oftentimes people master specifically for like Spotify or iTunes, or there's a different mastering process for vinyl than there is for the internet. So it's like, what was the intention if not to be listened to on normal headphones by like we mix our albums specifically in mind that people are going to play it on their cell phone out loud.
That's like that is how almost that, like my daughter, I have an 19-year-old daughter, and like I know how they listen to music, and these audiophiles, it might be, I thought I could say it's like a dying thing, but anywhere where somebody has a bunch of money, they're 100% going to be, because I saw like a frat boy with his a frat kid that had his the fucking Coors Light sign in the like everything that you would tie with
Scarface poster.
Yes. Yeah. He had a fucking $10,000 system, and he was like, "How do you like my starter system?" Which drove me up the fucking wall. Seeing some guy be like, "Hey, what can I get for a good hi-fi starter system?" And they're like, "You could probably get one for $3,000 to $5,000." That's not starter anything.
That's an absurd amount to spend on any amount of equipment.
Yeah, totally. You would have to be I'd have to be so into something to drop that amount of money on it already. And that a system is like just a speaker system. That's like a surround, like what are they talking here?
So you'd be surprised, because there is the audiophile, because it's funny, we're making fun of you for wearing Bose headphones, but like that is in audiophile world considered bottom tier. Like
it's that's the worst shit.
That's not, But I mean,
Yeah.
even like that's like all down there with Sony, Panasonic, like whatever, they don't care.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the stuff that is considered like real is like Audis and Warwick. And Warwick has I was just trying to remember one that I tried at Super Booth in Berlin. He let me listen to music through this. It's literally just a headphone amp and headphones, and it costs $36,000.
That's the amp thing
Ah.
is the thing. I think like I have a friend who
Did it sound good?
It sounded great, but I mean, like, I don't
Sorry.
know if I could really tell there was noticeable differences in certain things, but
Yeah.
it's like, okay, so like
Yeah,
I
you have to be so rich for that to be. Sorry, Brian, what you were saying? What were you?
no. I have a friend who bought like a hi-fi system. He's got. I mean, this dude has like real money, right? And he bought like speakers, and he got the record player and the amp. And when he was telling me about it, he was like, "Yeah, this is all together probably about $1,500." And I was like, "Wow, what? You're fucking crazy, dude!" You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're like, dude, you know how much fucking Lego you can get with that? What are you spending your money on that for? Yeah,
I wasn't
you
into
could get a
Lego.
record player. You could get a Lego record player for that price. Easy.
I am building a grand piano right now, a Lego grand piano currently. But
really. Is
yeah,
it- is it-
Brian's a Lego guy.
I
Brian's
know,
a
but
Lego guy.
it's not big. It's not.
it's fucking
full
big, but
size,
it's not
full size
full
grand piano size 2 scale. Yes, you can play it. It has like it's playable.
Well, it is play.
I
You
know.
can have it. You can hook your iPad up to it, and it'll play songs like a player piano.
Oh, it's like a little MIDI keyboard.
Yeah, it's cool.
That's
But
so cool.
I thought $1,500 was just like so crazy because my stereo system is Bose, which I bragged about for a number of years, which I was so embarrassed when I started reading the boards because, like, my dad is, I don't know if he's an audiophile. We kind of talked about him on the Prague episode too. He kind of is like, he doesn't like any of the music I like. Like, it was when he heard Korn the first Korn album, right?
Like when you're young.
Yeah. When I was like 15, when I got the first Korn album, and anybody who's listened to it, it sounds bad. Like they really did a bad job recording that album. It was the guy that it was Ross Robinson's first album. So like he was recording for the first time, and it just sounds really bad. And my dad like gave me fucking like, he was so disappointed in me for like listening to something that sounds that bad. And the only there's been 2 or 3 times he's looked at me that way. One when he found out I watch wrestling, and then the other one when he found out I listen to country music. Like those 3 things.
Imagine if he found out you watch fucking AEW as well, not even like the good one.
But
is your dad like an NPR liberal guy?
No, he's not actually. He's not even that. Right? Like he is,
because he kind of said, he's like an aesthete.
He
like,
wants to be that. Like
okay.
him and my stepmom we used to get in legit trouble when we were like 10, 11, or 12 for saying ain't, because they said it's a hillbilly word, and we would like have to like stay home for a day, like be grounded for a day if we said ain't. Like they were very much about like I've always said my parents act like rich people, and I think they believe that they're rich in a way, although he's 75 and he can't retire. So I don't know why he would believe.
Oh, man.
But they believed in a way that they were like a stylish, classic kind of thing. So like with my dad, you know, the whole time he was into Pink Floyd. He got way into Pink Floyd when he was a teenager, and he was into like a lot of that music that was specifically recorded to be played on like hi-fi systems. You know what I mean? So when you hear somebody listening to Korn or punk or anything like that, it's just going to fucking drive him up the wall. And he could never understand why I like that. And all he would tell me is what you really need to do. You listen to Electric Light Orchestra on a Bose wave radio. That is like that's the dream way of listening to music, and he bought a Bose Wave radio when we were growing up, and he would play it really fucking loud. And I'm like, I mean, I guess that sounds good, but I think it was just because it was a lot of treble. Like I just in my mind was like, treble sounds clear to me, and so he was very into Bose stuff. And when my grandma died, he had built her system for her. So it was Bose speakers and like a receiver and a record player. And he was just like, Bryan, you want this? And he gave it to me. I didn't know it was crap, but he gave it to me. And, I have it set up. And so the time I've been reading about this audiophile stuff, it is kind of like, wow, okay, so I use Bose. I use regular speaker wire. Like I don't use a $3,500 speaker cable at all, or even to them like $100 speaker cable is great. I don't have a $350 power cable to plug my stereo in.
That's the stuff that really pisses me off.
Power cable.
That's just a scam.
Yeah, because there's no way that the actual components, I mean,
because my thing is like, I feel like my ears are tuned enough in terms of working with electronics and music that when I have actually listened to like really good headphones and really good headphone amplifiers, I can tell a very slight difference. Like there is something to be said about like fidelity and quality. But the idea of spending money on that for like the tiniest increase in quality is bizarre to me, because it sounds fine already on like regular speakers.
It doesn't have the value. It doesn't have the value of, it doesn't improve it enough to make it worthwhile at all.
No, not for me personally. Like
I don't think it does I don't think there's a human that can hear it. I tied this to when I worked for the cable company when digital started. When digital cable first came out, people would buy an HD TV and they would say, oh, that it's not clear enough. It's definitely not HD.
Sometimes they would get a TV and they'd get a whole system set up, and then they'd bring everyone over for karaoke, and then they'd sing "When the Truth Is." Sorry, Bryan was a cable guy, like in the movie, and he loves to talk. He likes to compare it to the movie. He's like, every time he talks about it, he's always like,
back when I was a stalker.
Back when he was. Oh yeah, he's the normal. He's the normal guy in this. In his scenario, like he did have a scenario like that, but he was the normal guy and he was the cable guy, and he had a customer who was wild like the Jim Carrey character.
Yeah, it was Matthew Broderick. But he goes, so like people would call me to their house and they would say, I spent $500 on these component cables and it doesn't look HD. So what I would have to do, which is impossible, it's digital, it only looks one way, it doesn't sort of go away. So what I would have to do is go out to the car and get the $8 component cables that we had, and I would plug them in and say, does that look any better? And he'd be like, is that your cords? And I'd be like, yeah. And you're like, it doesn't look as good, plug mine back in. And I would just plug mine back in, and he'd be like, that's great, it looks good now and work. And I would just leave his cables behind the TV and just give him the $8 cables so that he would be convinced that's what HD TV looked like it didn't look good enough. And you would have to do that like 10 times a day.
Right.
Or to surround sound system. You would have to fucking tell somebody, those $700 cables you bought, well, they're working really good. I just had to plug them in tighter and to just put something else there.
It's so infuriating because it's just not how electricity works. Like, as someone who understands how like digital and analog signals are sent, it's like there either is a connection or a staticky connection or a not a connection. Like, the fidelity doesn't change based on the material that the current is going through or the voltage is going through.